Hi there, welcome back. How are you today? So in this beautiful video, we wanted to talk about mistakes and what comes up for us now. Now, what happened recently was that my beautiful Facebook account was hacked, my personal account, and all my business pages that were attached to that personal account. My personal account was 15 years old, and initially I had created it because when my partner and I were going to have children and my parents were overseas, we wanted to share everything that was going on with our children through Facebook with them. They could see the photos, they could see the videos, and they could watch their beautiful grandchildren growing up through Facebook. And also we learnt later that through WhatsApp we could call them once a week and they could catch up with us and see us. We could see each other face to face and have these beautiful conversations with my parents, and they could watch my daughter grow. But initially that was the intention for my personal page, to have a connection with my parents, that they could watch their grandchildren grow through Facebook and WhatsApp and all the other beautiful things that we have available to us now, all this beautiful technology. So recently I signed up to do a beautiful course learning how to do marketing, because it's the only thing that I don't have the knowledge for. I don't know how to do it. And so I'm getting help. There's so many videos where I've talked to you guys about this. Whatever it is that you guys are struggling with, there are beings out there that have the knowledge to assist. Get that help. When my daughter was born and we were struggling with financial hardship because I didn't know how to manage money, we were always behind with the mortgage, always behind with the bills, and I was finding it so frustrating. And every time I would get a call from the bank to say, your mortgage is behind, and I didn't know how I was going to pay for it, I would find myself yelling at my daughter. And one day I realized, I tied the two together. I sat with myself. Why am I yelling at her? What she's doing isn't bothering me that much. It doesn't bother me to clean it up. So why do I feel the need within me to yell at her? And I really sat with myself that day and I connected the dots. And I realized it was because of this financial struggle that I was in. It was a learned pattern from my childhood. I had observed my parents with this pattern, and I was just copying what I had learnt. I never questioned that there was a different way of doing this until that moment that I thought, no, I want to do better. I want my daughter to have better from me. And so I sought out the help of a financial counselor. And he sat down with me and he taught me how to do the whole thing. And since then, we've been fine. This was like 11 years ago now. About 10. So I sought the help that I needed. And I realized with the beautiful books and everything that my team has been asking me to create for you. You know, I keep telling my daughter, it's like having a shop, but no one knows it's there. And it has all these beautiful things inside to assist people, but nobody knows it's there. So I took the steps this year to learn how to do marketing, how to bring awareness to people that these books exist, that the courses exist. Everything that I've been asked to create, I'm now learning how to bring it forward into the world, that people know it's there, and then it's up to them, whether it's for them or not. It's that simple. But what happened? It was my first time doing Facebook ads. I'd never done them before. I'd never even boosted a post before, because I didn't know how to do it. So I didn't want to be wasting money on something that I just wasn't sure how to do, or what the purpose of boosting a post was. Like, What did that even mean? And funny enough, as I started doing this course, it was the first thing they said: do not boost posts. It's just wasted money. And so I learned how to do the Facebook ads, you know, from end to end. I had all the confidence, I'd set them up, and I had people coming to the website. It was all starting to move really nicely, you know, and people were booking in the strategy sessions that are free, by the way, for coaching. All of these things were starting to take place. There was movement. People were becoming aware that all of this is out there. It exists. It was wonderful. But then I got an email from Meta. They're the ones that ran everything. And I made the mistake at the time. They were telling me that there was copyright or trademark infringement or whatever it was, and that my account was going to be deleted unless I took action and responded to their email. And I clicked the link. That was it. Once I clicked the link, I was hacked. And I couldn't get them out of my pages. They had set it up that I was an administration on my pages, but I wasn't allowed to delete their page. So no matter what I did, I couldn't get rid of them. And what happened, the way I found out, was because the bank notified me the following day that I was hacked to tell me that they were trying to get money out. The first amount was something like $1,500. The second amount was $500. And then it just got smaller and smaller, but they kept trying to get money out of my account. And so my bank blocked that card until they could get in touch with me to see what was going on, because my budget for my ads was only $15 a day. And that's what I had been paying for 3 or 4 days beforehand, until I got that email. And then it all went south. So, mistakes. We were talking about mistakes. So what happened was, because I couldn't boot them from my pages, I couldn't delete him, and I kept asking Meta, you know, you guys can suspend accounts, you can do all sorts of wonderful things, can't you delete them from my pages? And they couldn't, or didn't want to, or I don't know what the issue was. But I ended up having to delete all my business pages, deleting all my Facebook ads, and eventually just deleting my personal page that I'd had for so long. And I felt like I was being deleted, my identity, my old identity, the one that was still attached to my ego, that this needed to look a certain way, it needed to be a certain way. And so that door was closed. At the moment, I can't do Facebook ads, even though it was working beautifully, because I had to open a new account. And under the new account, I have to start from scratch. And that takes time to build. Like I said, the other account was 15 years old. But the new account I've started under Hollie Belle. And that's the only account that will be in there. The old me died when I woke up. And it's like the universe is saying, let go of that. You don't need that anymore. You don't need that identity anymore. You can let it go. It served you for all the experience you gained until the moment you woke up. And from there, a new chapter. A new identity, I guess, but that's still ego. You know, it's still the separate I. And to be here in full service, there cannot be a separate I. There can only be spirit. And that is what I'm learning from these mistakes. Everything happens for a reason. There's no such thing as mistakes. You know, in many videos I talk about how I thought my first relationship was a mistake because it didn't work out. I thought he was the love of my life and we were going to grow old together and we were going to have all these children together. And it didn't work. And I thought for so long that was a mistake. I lost 8 years of my life that I can't get back. And because of that relationship, I spent 7 years not talking to my parents. I was so angry with them for having interfered in my relationship. So angry. But all of these things happened for a reason. From my first relationship, I learned that I am enough. This was the lesson I learned. And it wasn't until I woke up, and many, many years later, that I understood the blessing of that relationship, what I was meant to gain from it. The same with my daughter. Just recently, I was posting up a beautiful video about I was taught how to see my beauty through her. I could see her beauty, but I couldn't see mine. And through so many people telling me that she looked like me, one day I had to stop and really sit with myself. What is it that they all see and I can't see? That beauty that they see in her is in me. That beautiful light that they see in her is in me. In that moment, I remembered, I went back to when I was about her age, the age of 4 and 5. And I remember being such a beautiful little thing, have such a beautiful heart. I would see people in pain and I just wanted to reach out to them. I wanted to hug them. And all I could do was give them a smile. And many times they smiled back, but I could still see the pain in their eyes. And then, of course, my mum would reprimand, that I was too trusting, that I shouldn't be trusting. She was so scared of strangers, and what, all the bad things that happen in the world to little ones that are trusting, So she was just trying to protect me, but from very little, I always remember, wanting to reach out to people that were in pain, or even not in pain. I was always looking to connect to people, always. Somehow I knew back then that is what we are here for, this beautiful connection. And my whole childhood, I was taught how separate we are. At home, I'm taught, I was taught how dangerous the world is. It's not a safe place. The only thing that I knew for sure when I was growing up, that my parents were the only things that were safe. My home was the only thing that was safe. But out there, it's a dangerous world. This is what I grew up with in my childhood. And then at church, we were taught how separate we were from God. It was all about separation, because that was the experience I came to have. So that when I would wake up, I would realize through that separation that I experienced how truly connected we all are, and that this connection is what we are truly here for. This connection, connecting back to spirit, connecting back to each other. There is only spirit. There is nothing else. So, my beautiful beings, mistakes. For a few days after my account was hacked, of course my ego jumped in. There were tears and I beat myself up for days that I should have known better. I should have known it was scam. That they were phishing with that email. When I went back to look at it and I looked at the actual email address, I realized the scam that it was. But I know that it happened for a reason. It was meant to happen. That is not the way. Something was meant to be left behind with that experience. There was something that was no longer serving me, and I was holding on to it so tightly. But it's no longer serving my beautiful path. Another beautiful thing that came through with this experience, for you to see there's so many different layers to an experience, and there's probably so many that I've missed. Shortly after, the next day, I think it was midnight, and I was waiting to talk to someone from Metta about this. And my husband walks in, and then he found out that my account had been hacked. And because it was midnight, anyway, I sent him off to bed. But the next day we had the discussion, and he was angry with me, upset with me that I didn't come to him when it happened, because he's a huge computer nerd, Back in the day when the computers first started, he was creating websites from code, line by line. Like, that's how much of a computer nerd he is. He's really into computers. And he was angry that being a computer issue, I didn't come to him for help. I didn't even come to tell him. And he couldn't understand why. But then he brought up that this is a pattern that we've had for a long time. And it wasn't in that moment that it hit me. It was the next day. I went for a walk and I was talking to my daughter, and we were going over it, over that conversation of what we could learn from it, what we could gain from that conversation we had with my beautiful husband and how he felt. I knew that it made him feel bad, that I didn't come to him, or that he might have felt that I didn't trust him enough to tell him, to come with this information, to come forward. But what came through was that I realized that so many times, if I know that it's going to upset him and that he's going to tell me off for doing something, I won't tell him. I'll avoid telling him as much as I can. If I know that it's something that he's going to reject, I guess, or not approve of, all of these things were coming up. That he wasn't going to approve, it was going to upset him, he's going to get angry about it, right? Now, this hacked thing, responding to that email, to me was a mistake. I made a mistake. And that's why I didn't want to tell him. And it wasn't until the next day, talking to my daughter, that I realized, this is an old pattern that is still in me, and he is trying to help me release this pattern every time it comes up and he gets upset. As a child, whenever I made a mistake, I would get yelled at, I would get smacked, I would get sent to my room. It was such an unpleasant experience for me. It was traumatic. I hated being yelled at. I hated being smacked. I hated how it made me feel. But, and this was a huge but, I hadn't realized how far I had been carrying that pattern, to the point where I won't share something with my husband if I know it's going to upset him. He's going to be angry about it. I won't share it, because that pattern was still in me. That when you make a mistake as a little one, you don't tell the grown-ups, because you know how that's going to end. So as much as you can, when you make mistakes, you try to cover them up rather than tell the truth. Because this is the pattern that's been created. I had so much love for my husband that day for bringing that forward. I didn't mean to upset him, but I understood why I was doing that for so long. So, my beautiful beings, these are all the beautiful gifts I received from that event. And there's more coming, there's more still coming through, because that was just last week. That happened last Monday. Hasn't even been, it's just been over a week. And more information keeps coming up the more I think about it. You know, of what was I meant to gain from this? What was I meant to learn from this? So, my beautiful beings, we pray that there is something here that resonates with you, that helps you let go of something that no longer serves you. We love you guys. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.